What's happening, college football fanatics? Welcome back to the channel where we break down the biggest stories in the game. Today, we're diving deep into Alabama's absolutely dominant performance and what it means for the Crimson Tide moving forward. Coach DeBoer just finished his post-game press conference, and let me tell you, there's a lot to unpack here. From Ty Simpson's perfect 17 for 17 performance to the team's complete 180 from last week's disappointment, this is the kind of response championship teams are made of. Let's get into what the coach had to say about this statement win. There was some purpose in everything that they did. Got to the stadium and just the movement. I think it represented what they did this week and just, it's one game and, we got to continue to sustain the intensity and the focus. I thought the guys did a good job playing from snap to whistle and doing it over and over again for 60 minutes. So, that was the challenge to the guys and that's what we got to build on. So, I like that they really didn't feel like they looked at the scoreboard ever and just focused on being their best and bringing it. And I also really like that they were happy for each other. They celebrated each other's successes, and I think that's what this team has, So just that chemistry coming out and them appreciating the work that each guy puts in. Thanks, Coach. Starting on last slide here with Nick. Yeah, Ty completed 17 consecutive passes. What stands out about what he was able to do there, and then also the decision to bring in Austin for that drive. What went into that? Yeah. That's just Ty doing what he did. I just thought that the game was slower for him. He was just able to go through progressions. That first week to second week, that's what you needed to see. That's what you really needed to see out of Ty. And I'm proud of how he went to work. And there's some times when he scrambled this week where it just felt like he had it under control. It just, saw the field, knew where guys were at, understood the situation, and then made the throw. And, to get completions like that and 17 for 17, the guys got to make the catch too. They got to make those plays. And so, just focused on making the fundamental play. And then I thought a lot of guys, then made explosives after the catch, but they didn't get ahead of themselves. The game was slower for a lot of them. As far as the series early on with Austin getting in, it was just something we wanted to do. It wouldn't have mattered, really who, this week, next week, who we're playing. We just really got with the quarterbacks, and on Monday, we shared with them, we want to get Austin in for a series. We wanted to be really intentional. There's a lot of competition going on at all spots, and, I love what that brought out in all of those guys. I think it brought out another level of just, work, and they stayed the course, and started with those guys. But, we just let them know, and I thought Austin had a good week of practice. Ty had a great week of practice, especially as the week went on. And then it was good to see Keelon get out there too. Jumping to the right side, let's go to Kalen. Hey, Kalen, did you see, increased fire, or like an increased vigor from your defense after in response to the criticisms that they got last week? I just think they did a better job of every guy pursuing to the ball. And so, that the week of practice was a good week. And, it showed and it carried over and, got off to a faster start than what we did last week. And, that was what we needed to have. And so, a lot to build off. And especially as the game went on today, having those takeaways, because that's a contagious thing. Doesn't matter who you're playing, it's just contagious, and they were just hunting the ball, and coming in and punching it loose, or putting your helmet on the ball carrier with another level of violence, and that was certainly something I saw in practice. So, happy to see that carryover. Katie, what did Kevin Riley show in practice this week to earn that starting spot, and then what did you see from him tonight in the running game and the pass game? Yeah, I think from the running back position, it's a group effort, and we just liked that play with Kevin, and so that's how he got in there right away. But I think he had quite on the stats in front of me. I think he had quite a few, maybe most carries on the team. I'm not sure on that, but he's done a good job the last probably 3 weeks, 4 weeks, middle of camp. He really turned it up, and there's some things that he can do that are a little different than the rest of the group there. And so, I like where he picks up his knees and runs hard inside outside and got a little burst. Does a nice job catching the ball in the backfield, and I think he's really picked up the understanding and responsibility when it comes to pass protection. 2. Coach Charlie, front, right. Yeah. Coach, you had a couple of starter or freshmen in the starting lineup with London on the defense and Latrell on offense. Just what did you see in the lead-up to this game from them, and what did you see from them today? Yeah, London got some action last week, and then, just forced into more action, with Jeremiah, and just kind of the rotation there with he and TK out. So I think offensively with Latrell, just loved what I saw. Maybe it wasn't offensive snaps last week, but on kickoff there was some things that Latrell was doing. Then, he's had again build-up much like a lot of the younger guys. We talked about Kevin. He's done a good job here the last 2 or 3 weeks, really elevating his game and understanding what it takes. Saw it last week, on the football field. Had his way to make an impact on some kickoffs, and just you could see, there's a violence that he has. He got his opportunities. I really like the third down catch in their territory, going up and getting it. I think that's something he does really well. I've seen that quite a bit in practice. He plays bigger than he is and got good catch radius, and guys have a lot of confidence going to him. I thought the bubble screen, and just there's details that I liked as well with ball security. I thought he was very intentional on taking care of the football. So, a good step for him with this game and the experience he got today. Let's go to Alice up the middle on the left. You seem to rotate a lot of guys in on the offensive line. What was the thought process with that, and how do you think it played out? Yeah, just, competition. Just competition, and, we did that last year too. And it's just something that I think brings out the best in you, and I thought that was the case throughout the week of practice, and that's, I think that led to better execution. And I think there were some times still where we certainly got to be better that drive, that we had to kick the field goal. There were some things, I know, we missed the throw down the sideline, but there were some things that were they were too hard because we weren't executing at the level that we needed to. Just a little. Miss here and there, and, ball could have been cut loose. Got a guy at your ankles and they shouldn't be there. And so, again, just trying to bring out the best in all these guys, and just much like the quarterback competition. These other competitions, these guys are all, it's a healthy competition. They all are working and pushing each other. Chase back on the right. It seemed like y'all got out of this game pretty healthy. But did anybody get dinged up who might be? Questionable to start practice this week? Yeah, I think you're right. I think we did get through healthy for the most part. And so, just hopefully, we'll see some of these guys getting back. Might have an update or two on Monday, but I think it'll probably be more midweek where we see, Ryan and Jeremiah and TK and some of those guys and kind of see where they're at. But, yeah, I think you're right. I think we got through, for the most part, healthy. Stand on the right side. We'll go to Joe in the front row. Coach, just what does this performance tell you about your team and the way that they can respond to adversity? Yeah, I think the game is one thing. I think the response, whether it was on the plane ride or in the locker room last Saturday, and just really upset, just not happy, not, just obsessed with understanding that we have to be better and we can be better, and knowing that it only comes through just work. And they made their minds up at some point that led into Sunday, because by Sunday they were ready to roll and get on the football field, and, that carried through the whole week of practice. And so the challenge now is, can you sustain it, and can you move forward and continue to take steps, getting better and better? We have some upperclassmen, we got a lot of younger guys, as we've mentioned, and we have to just keep improving every single play, not just each week, but every single play. To go to EG, right? Coach, you just mentioned it, sustaining. This success. What does it look like tangibly to do that, to keep that execution and energy going? Yeah. Just everyone's just got to do their part, do their job. And just I think the guys are understanding that everyone's just counting on them. You're counting on the staff, but the staff is counting on them, and their teammates are counting on them to bring their best, and I wouldn't expect anything less. It's a high-character group. It's a group that has shown me all along. They really want it bad, and they're willing to sacrifice and make and have action that represents the goals that they have. Obviously, last week was a disappointment, but, they moved forward, and now they got to continue to move forward going into next week as well. All right, we got one last question. Jonathan, all the way back on the left. Yeah, coach, and just mentioning last week, how important do you think it was to come out in what was one of Alabama's most dominant wins in a really long time to get that win and sort of flush last week? Yeah, it's definitely important. That's all we could control was what we had in front of us. And, sucks to learn lessons or whatever you want to call it. It is what it is, but these guys did it, and now, again, they got to do it again. They got to have the discipline to do it over and over and over again. And, just the resiliency is probably the thing that I'll take from them, because their response was not timid in any way. It was with power. It was with aggression and with pride, and they were certainly that took a hit last week, and again, all that was something that really came into play as far as what you saw tonight and how they responded. There you have it, folks. Coach DeBoer couldn't be clearer about what this performance meant. This was a team that got embarrassed last week and came back with power, aggression, and pride. The way Simpson bounced back with a perfect game, the way the defense hunted the ball with violence, and how the entire team played with purpose for 60 minutes straight. That's championship DNA right there. This is the kind of response that separates good teams from great ones. Alabama didn't just win, they made a statement. But as Coach DeBoer said, the real challenge is sustaining this level of play week after week. Can this Crimson Tide team build on this momentum and get back to their championship ways? What do you think? Is this the turning point for Alabama's season, or do they need to prove it's not just a one-game fluke? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you never miss our latest college football breakdowns. We'll be following Alabama's journey all season long, so make sure you're subscribed for all the latest analysis and insider content. Until next time, roll Tide and keep grinding.